Former Hawkeye Connor McCaffrey goes after Iowa fans for saying "Go Hawks." Uh-oh.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio here in the state of Iowa, including currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network with stations in Des Moines, 106.3 KXNO, along with Sioux City, the Quad City, Cedar Rapids, and Iowa City. You can hear me each weekday from noon to 2. Well, we have a busy show to kick off the week here. Updates from Iowa Wrestling, some good news, including their schedule for 2025. The Iowa baseball team has added from the transfer portal. We'll be joined by Tom Kaker from Hawkeye Report and a breakdown of recruiting and a whole lot more. But we begin today's program with a look at Connor McCaffrey and going after Hawkeye fans once again. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So here we are. It's a slow time. It's a slow news time. We do not have any Hawkeye athletics going on, and that creates at times situations like this that, let's be frank, at the top. In the grand scheme of things, this is a nothing burger. This is an absolute nothing. It is a tweet in the beginning of summer that will get some people riled up, that'll get them fired up. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. So if you missed it, though, over the weekend, Connor McCaffrey put out a tweet, or an X that has since been deleted. He said this: IDK, which means I don't know for the uninformed out there, why people still yell "Go Hawks" when they see me. Like, no, go Dogs, go Quakers, go Fever. So that's the tweet. And the question from former Hawkeye Connor McCaffrey is, why do people still yell "Go Hawks" when they see him? Well, because he played for the baseball program and the basketball program. He played for 6 years? Because your dad was the head coach for 15 years, because you're a Hawkeye. And that's what Hawkeye fans do. When you spot a Hawkeye out in the wilderness, what do? Go Hawks. That's what we do. Now, I get it. Connor McCaffrey is still upset that his father was fired. He believes that Fran McCaffrey got a raw deal. The all-time winningest coach after back-to-back down seasons was not given another year. And for many programs, they would. For many programs, a coach like that, a coach with his resume, would have gotten more. We know, though, this is a much more complex issue than just surface level. All-time winningest coach gets fired. There's a lot more that goes into it. The easiest thing is to just watch the basketball games the last 2 years and the way that the fan base is checked out. I mean, that's the easiest component to all this. The fans were gone. The fans did not believe that Fran McCaffrey was going to be the guy that was going to be able to elevate them. And because of that, they stopped showing up. They stopped spending their money, and they stopped supporting the program. In today's environment of college athletics, when money is not coming into a program in the NIL pay-for-play era, guess what? You're going to get what you get the last couple of years. Fran McCaffrey was an excellent offensive basketball coach. Fran McCaffrey elevated Iowa back to respectability, and he needs to be commended for that, and he's always been commended by me for that. Do I believe that he should have got another year? If it was just basketball, yes, but it's not. And these are the avenues here. But when you put out a tweet like this, when you put out a tweet that you delete quickly afterwards, it adds more ridicule to what we've heard from Connor McCaffrey. Connor McCaffrey is a basketball player. He was a coach on the floor. He was a hardworking guy, a guy that got as much as he possibly could. By the end, turned himself into an okay shooter, was a tremendous passer. I mean, you think of the number of assists that he had and just beautiful feeds inside to Garza. He was a guy that had more pluses than minuses. But because of some of the offensive inefficiencies in his game, he was ridiculed. He was ripped by Iowa fans. And because of that, I can understand the angst. I can understand the frustration. Here's the thing, though, for Connor McCaffrey. The people that are coming up to you and saying, "Go Hawks," those are not the people that were ripping you. Those are not the people that were tearing you down. That's not what it is. After his dad was fired, he put out a tweet with just a clown emoji. I understand at the time. You're hurt. You're upset. A place that you gave 15 years of your time to was taken away. I understand. But we're 2 months past that. And it's time to let it go. It's time to move on. The only thing that these kind of tweets are going to do is add more divisiveness. And I know as the gap grows bigger, fences will be mended, bridges will be built back, and there will be positive memories of the McCaffrey era, as there should be. But when you have your son doing things like that, it doesn't help. This is not helping the situation. And on top of it, the other component is when your girlfriend, a former University of Iowa star, is one of the most famous athletes in all of sport, and you're doing this. Is that good? Is that a good thing? In general, social media is a disaster. I am not a fan. I have moved further and further away from social media for my own mental health. It is ugly, it is divisive, and it's not for me. However, I understand people are going to be on there. It's not going away, so this is the reality. I love to live in reality, and the reality is it's still going to be out there. At times, though, it's time just to step away from the keyboard. I mean, what could make you this upset from an Iowa fan saying to you, go Hawks, that you go out and do this? Sometimes all of us just think a little bit more before we tweet. Before you open up that keyboard, think a little bit more about what it is. Like I said, in the grand scheme of things, this is a nothing burger. It will be quickly forgotten, as it should. It is just that. Connor deleted it. We're moving on, and we will do that with Tom Kakert. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, some Iowa football recruiting news. We're also going to talk with Tom about this. What is Iowa's easiest Big Ten football game? Not as easy answer as it normally is. We'll get into that as we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs. Intensity, buzzer beaters, fans just losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live, and this year's matchups are delivering big. If you want in, Gametime makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off. They have killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees. Gametime is a total game changer. I'm looking at the app right now. I can see a ton of options already for the football season out there. You want to get into Kinnick Stadium, you can do that and find exactly where you're going to be sit in the stadium. Plus, the app makes it so easy. 2 taps, and I'm done. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Tom Kakert joins us to talk some Hawks, some Big Ten, etc. with Tom. Hello, Tom Kakert. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Okay. Appreciate you coming. I guess we'll start with football because that's where the news seemingly was made today, unless there's been some in the last couple of hours that we missed. But the football program gets a receiver, and a receiver from that played is high school football, right, in the state of Iowa?
Yeah, kid played actually in Iowa City at Regina.
How about that?
Jackson Nave, who's, had a pretty good career playing at Regina, but last year was at Iowa Western, had only like 8 catches for 86 yards, something like that, 6 catches. So, but the camped with Iowa last day, I guess, and they offered him an opportunity to walk on. And, Iowa was kind of down to like the 105, and they were pretty much set on that's where they were going to be. But now that the House settlement has opened things up where you can add a few guys, why not take a flyer on a kid that's got some good speed and added, according to his coaches, added 20 pounds and a couple inches to his frame and is still running a 4.47. Why not take a swing at that one and see what happens?
Can he return kicks?
That's probably one of the things they might look at him to do. I mean, it's, the Caden Region path. So, kind of similar path. So there we go. we'll see if it happens.
Well, he's a JUCO kid, and I think my mind goes to Diego Pavia, looking for more eligibility. Do we have any resolution or any idea of how that's going to turn out for junior college players and the ability for them to get maybe upwards of 4 years of D1 opportunity after their JUCO careers finish up?
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be moving forward. Is they're going to look at junior college years as like you're at a prep school, you know, so you get an extra time. That's how they're going to view it from here on out. It looks like. So until that changes, yeah, this kid's going to get back that year, and we'll see if he can develop. But then, you know, we've got to contend also with the 105 that's going to eventually get there. I think. Who knows with all these rules and regulations and how many of them actually hold and become something, and how many of them actually just kind of drift away. And I mean, we're already going to get, we've already had somebody, I think, file a lawsuit based on Title IX. So we'll see how long this lasts. But, you know, I am skeptical on how this is going to work out, just because I was told this week that they're like, all the colleges have kind of just like said, yeah, we're all going to follow these rules and everything. Okay. I believe you.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's going to believe each other.
Sure. You have to trust each other. Like that. What was the pact that the alliance?
The alliance.
The long live the alliance. Boy, oh my, not worth the paper that it was written on. So, Tom, I was over the last little bit just getting more acquainted with what lies ahead for both of the in-state schools, and looking at the Hawkeye schedule as I did with Iowa State, but this one in particular when it comes to Iowa, and looking at their Big Ten slate of games. I'm trying to find the breather. You know, I'm trying to find, well, that's a win. Well, what do you mean? Not so fast. What if it goes X, Y, and Z? Might the easy, and I hate to say it, put it like this, because I mean, Minnesota and Iowa, they play for the greatest trophy in college, maybe. Certainly make the case that it's the pig above everybody else. But Minnesota, Iowa, they played some very tough games, but that might be, I hate to say it like this, the softest point of Iowa's Big Ten slate. Is that crazy?
Maybe
Michigan State
at home. Michigan State, that's a revenge spot for sure.
Yeah.
After what happened in East Lansing,
Rutgers can pick you off. Rutgers is getting. I think their arrow is pointing up.
Yeah, and that's a Friday night game up there, so that'll be a challenge. And then you've got Indiana coming to Iowa City, and I don't know what Indiana's going to be. You know, I'm going to believe they're going to be pretty decent this year once again. But yeah, there's, I guess the good news for Iowa is they've got a couple of bye weeks this year, so that maybe that'll be the breather for them. Will be getting a break in 2 breaks in the schedule to kind of prepare for whatever is ahead.
One of those breaks is going to be before the matchup against Wisconsin. So they go to Camp Randall, never easy. But with that program, Tom, I know they've done
might be a Trent breather.
They last year, we know 42-10. All right, they got 42 up in the locker room. Who cares, right? I mean, it's an off-season thing. It's not going to matter when the ball is in the air. How bad do you think Wisconsin's going to be? Because speaking of schedules, there is an absolute bear. Did they do enough in the portal to make them a difficult Big Ten opponent?
What's their win total? Do you know, Trent? 5.5? That's what I thought.
It's 5.5. Yeah, and don't they have Bama too?
They
yes.
Do. Oof. That's a program that never gained an identity thus far under Luke Fickell, and that's they tried to change who they were,
right? And
it didn't work. And I'm not sure you can ever recover from that with Luke Fickell. I don't know. Maybe they can. Maybe they'll surprise me. But I just think they've kind of Luke Fickell's just kind of bit the bit on this one and just didn't figure out what this was supposed to be. And now he's chasing, because if he doesn't, imagine if they're like 3-9. Is he back?
That's just going to ask
No,
you.
I think they might get ahead of the posse. He might be the first coach fired.
Really?
If they don't have those betting markets in college sports, but he'd definitely be up there. The fan base is very restless, and what they're likely facing this year, he could be the guy Wisconsin says, you know what, we made a mistake. Let's pull the plug here. Let's get to the front of the line and try to get our pick of the litter for the next coach.
Because what were they last year? They went 5? 5-7?
Something like that.
I think they were.
Yeah.
They lost. Yeah, they're right. They lost their last 5.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yep.
Got blown out at Nebraska, got clobbered by Minnesota. The Oregon game was close. Iowa waxed him, as Trent said. Jesus, he may not survive. You might be right, Trent.
Yeah.
Who saw that coming, if indeed this goes this way? We'll see. I know that they're excited by some of the replacement, maybe not on the field, but coaching staff. We'll see where it goes. Is there another seat in the Big Ten that's hot, do you think, Tom? Coaching-wise?
That's a good question. Talking to some Michigan State people, I know it seems crazy, but they're just not super enamored with Smith up there.
Wow.
They're just not. They're just like, it's just not gone well, and it just doesn't feel great. And
you traveled there last year too, didn't you? Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's just I don't know. It's just like, this guy's not really getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's a lot of love up there for that guy. So that might be another guy that's looking for work.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. UCLA might be another one, maybe.
USC, Lincoln Riley?
Maybe.
Lincoln, boy,
paying him a lot of money.
Money though. That's so much money.
What about Northwestern?
Yeah, that's a good one too. Plus, they're opening a new building.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because you don't want to go into because they weren't bowl eligible last year. I know that I don't even have to look. They weren't bowl eligible.
I know where Fitz will be on Saturdays.
Oh, is he coming to Iowa City?
Well, his kid's going to be on the team.
Yeah, I know it.
Speaking of being there, tell us what you've been able to gather on the Scott Pioli thing. Being an analyst, he's not a full-time employee at Iowa. He is an analyst for other programs also. We know the connection with him and Kirk. What his role is, kind of what you've been able to unearth about Pioli and kind of what his role is with the university.
Somebody I talked to said that they hadn't seen Scott Pioli in Iowa City in like 6 months. So
okay.
That kind of tells you he's a consultant. And that's about all it is he'll show up if you need him. And that's about it. It's not going to be like Scott Pioli's going to be camped out at the Iowa Athletic Department offices, year round. It's not going to be like that. The nuts and bolts of what they're going to be doing is going to be run by Marcus Wilson and Scott Brinkman, and that's who's going to handle all of those details, I think, moving forward.
Switching to basketball, I saw that Jan Jensen's doing a lot of traveling and rushing to get back to welcome some of her team back to campus. So women going well. I mean, every time I see, on X that player X is narrowed their list down to this school. Seemingly, Jensen's Hawkeyes are in the conversation most of the time. It's clearly what she's continuing to build on after the Bluter era. Seemingly is going in a positive direction still at this point. Tom.
Yeah, it is, and they're still kind of living in the afterglow of the Caitlin Clark era, and they should be. And so this 26 group, we'll see if they can. They got Addie Deal, one of the better players in her class, and that was a huge deal, no pun intended. But that's going to bring in, hopefully, according to Jan, that's the hope, is that they'll bring in some more of these really high-level 2026 players and get them on campus and get them committed. I know they really, I think they feel pretty good about the Lewis girl, from you guys' neck of the woods, Jenica Lewis.
Yeah, so, Johnston.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can get her. And then, there's Addison Bjorn, who I think is one of her AAU teammates. there's several really good players in that class that they're very much in on, and they just offered a 2027 player who's the younger sister of Cam Manuel, the men's basketball player, and she's piled up offers from about everybody in the country. So maybe they have a leg up on her as well.
So over to the men's side of things, and sounds like Ben McCullum's still sniffing around. There was the guard from Robert Morris, who since he has officially said he's going to South Florida, but they're still working. Are they working maybe more though in the international market? Is that kind of the waters that they're swimming in at this point?
Yeah, and what I was told was just before that deadline, the announcement comes that Judge Wilkins announced that the thing was settled. So you had basically until the end of that day. And I was told that they were working on somebody internationally right up until midnight that night. And then they just couldn't get the deal done. And I don't know what happened, but that's what I was told, that somebody was in the mix. But they just couldn't get things firmed up. So they just passed on it. And I think he's totally comfortable with his roster right now, but I think they'd like to add somebody if they could. It's just now you're going to have some financial limitations because you're going to July 1, it's the new era. So you're going to have some financial limitations right now too, with just the framework of that legislation, or that court case is done. And so now you've got to live in a different world than it was, a week ago.
Tom, do you know if, since you mentioned international players, it dawned on me that one of the layers of that, the $20.5 million settlement, payment, international players to this point do not have the ability to share in that. That was something that they were made aware of, but that loophole had not been, I guess, closed to prevent them from being a part of that. Do you know if that got done? I know that there was some work being done on it. Do you have any idea?
Boy, I don't know, but that's a great question because, I think there's some guys who want to partake in some of those dollars.
Yeah.
And I think some of them did, they've like the guys who transferred this spring, I think they've been quote unquote made whole. Wow. They've been taken care of. So I don't think it'll be anything this year, but like next year when you don't have so many workarounds, boy, I wonder what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting. I wonder if that international market starts to dry up because those guys will just stay over season play and make money as opposed to, that's why all these guys are coming over now. That's why everybody on the Illinois roster and has their last name end in IC right now. It's because they just hit all the Baltic states and picked up players and because they can make more money over here. And Illinois has got a budget that's over $10 million for their basketball team this year. So
how's it going to work out? How's that gonna play out? Is that gonna be a success? I'm anxious to see it. I bet them.
I know it's gonna be fascinating to see how Brad Underwood coaches that team because Brad rides guys pretty hard.
He coaches them. You're right. Yeah.
And I'm not sure how those guys are going to react to some of that, but and language barriers maybe. It's fascinating to see if it's an avenue. Yeah. It's an angle that they took and they definitely embraced it, but boy, I don't know if it's going to work. I just don't.
Tom, with the House settlement now, as we're trying to figure out kind of all the ins and outs, you deal in the message board community and there's some different type of people over there. What's the thing that
God bless them?
The general population, your everyday keyboard warrior. What's the thing that they have wrong? What's the thing that you see most on your message boards that people have wrong at this point, and how the future of college athletics is going, at least the near future?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think the most common misnomer out there is that I think might be from some of the administrative side of things of college athletics who believe that everybody's going to just like oh yeah, we're all just going to follow this 20.5 and that's going to be the cap and everybody's going to be honest about things. I mean, the one thing we can say about the last 4 years, as chaotic and Wild West as it was, is everything was above board.
Right.
Every dollar. It wasn't like there was some nefarious thing. So there was no rumors about, oh, he's getting paid under the table, because everything was above the table, right? Well, guess where everything's going to go now?
Yeah.
It's going to go back to the old.
Yep.
That's my prediction.
Well, you're 100% right. Yeah, 1,000% right. And the SEC's going to start winning championships again in football because they're going to cheat.
Yeah, and they're going to, and there's this whole thing. I mean, there was an athletic directors conference or athletic administrative conference, and they were all down there. Oh yeah, we're all holding hands.
Yeah,
we're all going to follow this and do all this right. Yeah, until you need to get a stud quarterback, and then you're going to say, well, we got to find a way to funnel, and it's not going to get approved by the clearinghouse that Deloitte is going to, in the college football or the college commission. So we got to figure out a way to get a couple $1 million for this guy, and that's where they're going to need it. And I think the other thing is, it was pretty clear that Iowa is moving on from, or at least Iowa athletics has moved on from the Iowa Swarm.
Interesting.
Just seems like it. There was no mention of the Swarm in any of those press releases, and it feels like everything that they've done is just to kind of replace it and bring it in-house at this point.
Well, we tried to get Brad Heinrich, and he was unavailable this week, so...
he is out of the country. So...
Fascinating. Tom, great stuff, Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com, part of the On3 network, HawkeyeReport.com. Tom, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Tom.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Good to talk to you.
There he is, Tom Kakert, joining us from HawkeyeReport.com. Big thank you, as always, to Tom. We got some news and notes for Iowa sports going on. The wrestling schedule has been updated from the Big Ten, and some portal news from the baseball team. That's all as we continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. And a shout out to you everydayers with us each and every day. Couldn't do it with each and every one of you. Your team every day. That's what we do here on the Locked On Network. Shout out to the wrestling program as the Big Ten schedule has been released for next wrestling season, the dual opponents that they will face throughout the course of next year. So Iowa will be welcoming in Penn State. That's a headliner, as always, at the top of the fold, if you will. Penn State will be making its way into Carver-Hawkeye Arena. Also coming into Carver, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. A couple of decent duels in there. The Penn State one, though, will be the big one. Iowa goes this year to Purdue. Michigan State, double. Ohio State, okay. But then they go over to Lincoln to take on Nebraska. Of course, a surprising run last year from the Cornhuskers, both in the Big Tens and the NCAA. So should be a spirited one in that one. And a couple of portal entries for Iowa baseball, as Iowa has picked up commitments from Bryce Phelps. The Denver, Iowa native is going to be finishing up his Iowa career with the Hawkeyes. Big stick outfielder and definitely a needed pop for this team. He's been playing out at Wagner University throughout his collegiate career. All Northeast Conference selection from Denver, Iowa, coming back home. Little Cyclone. Bryce Phelps will be coming in. Also, some news from the baseball front as they also picked up a pitcher from Florida International. So Iowa, Rick Heller continued to do work in there. Obviously, they were impacted hard by the transfer portal, but trying to pick up the pieces and bet against Rick Heller against your own peril. That guy is absolutely incredible what he does year in and year out for Iowa baseball, trying to restock the cupboards there and keep the momentum going. It was a disappointing end of the season, no doubt, but continuing on that front and building things back up. Tomorrow, we got some football news coming your way. It sounds like a potential decommitment from Cash Herrera, the four-star quarterback in this class coming up in 2026. Still just rumblings on that. We'll await some confirmation on that front and have some news on that. Also going to have a few other things coming your way. Hope to have Brad Heinrichs on the show with the Hawkeye Swarm and a few other things percolating here in Hawkeye land. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. 5-star review on the podcast side helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Don't get mad at me. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Hawks.